Should I tell him? Should I not? My mind was a battlefield. Every time I picked up the phone to call Jieming, my thumb would hover over his name, but I could never press it. It felt like my heart was caught in a storm, a whirlwind of joy and terror. A baby, our baby, a tiny flicker of life was glowing inside me, a secret miracle in the middle of all this chaos. How could something so wonderful happen at the worst possible time? My mom was ecstatic, of course. Her eyes lit up like they hadn't in months. She immediately started talking about baby names, nursery colors, and tiny little shoes. But then the worry would creep back into her face. Ling Ling, she did say, her hand on my arm, with everything going on. Your father's health, Jieming's business. Are you sure? Is this the right time? Her words echoed my own deepest fears. The world around us was crumbling, a relentless avalanche of stress and uncertainty. How could I bring a child into this? Was it fair to them? Was it fair to us? Every night I did lie awake, one hand on my belly, feeling a connection I couldn't explain. This tiny being was already a part of me, a part of us. The thought of Jieming not knowing felt like a betrayal. This was his joy, his hope too. He deserved to know. He had a right to know. But the fear was paralyzing. What if this news just added another unbearable weight to his already burdened shoulders? His business was on the verge of collapse. He was fighting battles on all fronts. And I was about to drop a life-altering bombshell. Would it be the final straw that broke him? After days of agonizing, I finally found a sliver of courage. My fingers trembled as I dialed his number. It rang once, twice, and my heart hammered against my ribs. Hello. His voice was tired, strained. It broke my heart to hear him like that. Jieming, I whispered, my own voice barely audible. It's me. Can we meet? There's something I need to tell you. There was a pause on the other end. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, probably bracing himself for more bad news. Of course, he said, his voice softening slightly. Where? Duh, I said, without hesitation. The one by the old bookstore, where we had our first date. I needed that place. I needed to be surrounded by the memory of our beginning, the time when life felt simple and full of promise. I needed to remember the man I fell in love with, the one who saw a future in my eyes. The hadn't changed. The air still smelled of roasted coffee beans and old books. Sunlight streamed through the large window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Just like that first day, Jieming was already there, sitting at our table, staring into a cup of black coffee. He looked older, worn down by the world. The dark circles under his eyes told a story of sleepless nights and endless worry. When he saw me, he managed a weak smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. I sat down opposite him, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. The silence between us was heavy, filled with unspoken anxieties. I didn't know where to start. All the words I had practiced vanished. He reached across the table and took my hand. It was rough, but warm. Xiaoling, he said gently. What's wrong? You can tell me anything. Taking a deep breath, I looked him straight in the eye. Jieming, I am pregnant. The words came out in a rush, a quiet confession that seemed to suck all the air out of the room. I watched his face, bracing for impact, expecting shock, maybe even anger or despair. For a moment, he just stared at me, his expression unreadable. His grip on my hand tightened. And then, something incredible happened. His eyes, which had been so clouded with worry, filled with tears. Not tears of sadness, but of pure, unadulterated joy. A single tear escaped and traced a path down his weary cheek, then another. He started to cry, not loudly, but with deep, shuddering breaths that racked his entire body. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders, shaking. A baby, he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. We're having a baby. He looked up at me, his face streaked with tears but illuminated by a smile so bright it was like seeing the sun for the first time after a long, dark winter. Oh, Xiaoling, he whispered, his voice cracking. Finally, some good news, something hopeful. In that moment, all the stress, all the financial troubles, all the family drama seemed to melt away. There was only us, and this incredible, miraculous news that stitched our frayed world back together. He stood up, pulled me out of my chair, and wrapped me in a hug so tight it felt like he was trying to merge our two bodies into one. I buried my face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent, and cried with him, tears of relief, of joy, of overwhelming love. We were having a baby. In the midst of the chaos, life had given us a reason to fight, a beacon of hope to guide us through the darkness. We just stood there holding each other, two people against the world, fortified by a tiny, secret promise of a future. For a few precious minutes, nothing else mattered, but the real world has a cruel way of shattering beautiful moments. As we held each other, lost in our own little universe of hope, my phone rang, its shrill tone slicing through the peaceful quiet of the. I pulled away from Jieming, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach. I saw my mom's name on the screen. Why would she be calling now? I answered, my voice still shaky. Mom, what's wrong? Her voice on the other end was a frantic, panicked sob. Ling Ling, it's your father. He can't breathe. We're in the ambulance. They're taking him to the ICU. The world tilted on its axis. The joy, the hope, the warmth of Jieming's embrace, it all evaporated, replaced by a cold, numbing terror. I looked at Jieming, my face pale, the unspoken question hanging in the air between us. Our moment of hope had been swallowed by a new, terrifying crisis.